End of the world was upon us. Would you be ready? Today, people all over America are stocking extensive amounts of food, water, and ammunition, expecting that at any moment a devastating disaster will strike. These people are called preppers.
I'm preparing for the second worldwide Great Depression.
For the collapse of society due to peak oil.
For a worldwide pandemic.
Okay, we all know a prepper, no matter how extreme. You might have a disaster kit packed or emergency supplies ready, or even an entire compound to escape to. But more people, including young people, are getting ready for the next big disaster. A survey from the financial services company Finder earlier this year reveals that 40% of Gen Zers and 39% of millennials are spending money on prepping. That's up from around 25% in 2017. And about a third of all adults have spent an average of $150 on emergency items like food, water, and, of course, medical supplies. But there are some people who go really big, like my next guest. Joining me now is Colonel Drew Miller, CEO and manager of the survival facility Fortitude Ranch. I love the name of it. Drew, I know you have multiple compounds that people can go to in an emergency. And I want to hear all about that. But first, tell us what the biggest concerns people have are now. Is this COVID related, or is there a concern about an EMP cutting out all internet? What's going on?
Well, preppers who are watching for threats, paying attention to them, were recently surveyed, as published in the Washington Examiner, and they identified 5 of the top threats. Number 1 was a grid down. Our electric grid is very vulnerable. Number 2 was a bioengineered virus or bio attack that could cause a really deadly pandemic, not COVID, but H5N1, 60% lethal type pandemic. The other one was a civil war next year. A lot of people are concerned that we are so divided as a nation that we could have a civil war next year. Ray Dalio has actually predicted that. Fourth one was an economic collapse that could lead to a loss of law and order, a collapse. And then the last one was terrorist attacks because of our largely open borders. Well,
when you think about, let's just start with one thing, the grid going down. Like, we've all seen the films and, the Obama's new Netflix movie about this. It shows what happens to one family and one community, migration patterns of animals, loss of ability to move, to travel, all of that. Is that your major concern, given what we're seeing?
Yeah, well, preppers listed as number 1, and it's our Achilles heel as a nation. And it's not just Russia or China who could take out our grid. A small terrorist group could do it with physical and cyber attacks. North Korea, with their lousy, inaccurate, small nuclear force, could readily take down the U.S. electric system. And we have reports, intelligence reports. I'm a former intelligence officer. I'm not telling you something secret. This was published in the papers, that Russia helped them design their nuclear force, optimizing it for EMP, electromagnetic pulse effect. And a congressionally funded study studied EMP, warned that you could lose 90% of Americans when North Korea takes down our grid, be down for over a year. It's not just no electricity, no municipal water system. So most Americans will die when that happens. We've known about it for decades, and Congress has done absolutely nothing to fix it, because there's no re-election votes in preparing for Homeland Security.
Well, at least Ukraine will be okay. All right, let's talk about your Fortitude Ranch and what happens there. How does it help prepare people or give people a place to go to in a severe emergency?
Well, we're a survival facility, so in good times our members can come here and recreate and vacation, but when the hits the fan, and that's actually the term preppers use, that's HTF. When that happens, we turn into survival communities. So we have staff like myself and ranch managers in charge, but all of our members have weapons, the weapons that President Biden and Governor Newsom would like to ban. We've got weapons, and we have prepared defensive positions, walls, and we can defend ourselves and survive in any kind of a grid down, pandemic, or any bad situation. We can survive.
Without water, you can't survive long. So water is the number one thing. A water source is the number one thing that you would need, correct?
Correct. And that's easy for us. We're in rural locations. So we have wells, creeks, reservoirs of water. We have a lot of natural springs at several of our locations. But if you're in a big city or even a suburb, water alone is going to be something that may be the difference between life and death for you.
Drew, I think a lot of people don't want to think of, this happening or the possibility of this happening. You don't want to, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. But you're glad that you actually thought of things, contingencies, when they happen, and they do happen. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's, being prepared and being vigilant is always the right call. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.